You're listening to Rochester Trail Riders. Rochester Trail Riders Challenge 4, Mendon Ponds Park. Mendon Ponds Park is nestled within the towns of Pittsford and Mendon and covers an impressive 2,500 acres, distinguishing it as the largest park in Monroe County. The park was honored in 1967 when it was designated as a National Natural Landmark, primarily for its captivating glacial geology and primitive biology. Within the park, 550 acres are dedicated to a nature preserve. Wanderers and nature enthusiasts will find over 30 miles of trails teeming with diverse wildlife and rare plant species. Certain sections of the park are marked off limits to horse traffic, and for vital reasons. These areas house ancient bogs and delicate plant life that require minimal foot traffic for their preservation. Over the years, there's been a misconception that Mendon Ponds is primarily a horse park and thus unrestricted horse access is allowed. This is far from the truth. Every visitor, whether on horseback or foot, should remember that access to such a park is a privilege. It is our collective responsibility to take care of the trails and common areas, ensuring that they remain pristine for future generations to relish. Parking for horse trailers is situated in the intersection of Douglas and Pond Roads. Kindly proceed through the lot and align your trailers on the grassy section, reserving the gravel parking for others. Given the park's popularity, it is essential to park thoughtfully, ensuring enough space for all. This spot can comfortably fit large groups, and due to its frequent use, manure can accumulate pretty rapidly. Please be considerate and take any horse waste with you when departing. The park boasts a rich network of trails. Many are unmarked, with the main trails clearly color marked. To safeguard the unique biological and geological remnants of the last ice age, horses are prohibited on the Birdsong Swamp Trail, which is marked in yellow, and the Quaker Pond Loop, which is indicated in purple. During snowy winter months, horse riders should refrain from using the North Meadow Trail and East Esker Trail. These pathways are groomed for cross-country skiing, and their steep inclines can be treacherously icy. As a general rule for horse riders, it is advisable to steer clear of lowland areas during muddy season. When on mowed grasslands, groups should disperse their foot traffic to prevent inadvertent creation of unintended trails. Carriage enthusiasts, you will find several trails accommodating your needs. The Southern Meadow Trail, marked in red, Lower East Esker, and the Lower West Esker, and the Lower Devil's Bathtub are all available, along with numerous marked and unmarked paths. Most footbridges you come across are carriage-friendly in width, and if not, there's usually an alternative route, be it water crossing or park road. If you're setting out on horseback or planning to drive, it is wise to first accompany somebody familiar with the trails. Given the park's vastness, this will provide you with the insights into varying trail difficulties and the potential challenges ahead. With the park's popularity, you can anticipate mingling with walkers and hikers and joggers and a plethora of pets in the park. While the rule mandates pets are to be leashed, not all adhere to it. If faced with an off-leash dog, it's always beneficial to approach the situation tactfully. A comment I often use is, "Oh man, I'd really hate for my horse to unintentionally harm your lovely dog. Would you mind leashing it for safety?" As for cyclists, they aren't permitted on the trails but can be seen cruising around park roads. On rare occasions, I found myself amidst foot races. In such instances, I remember that participants usually pay and are clocked for these timed events, so I make an effort to steer clear. Harmonious coexistence in this multi-use park ensures pleasant experiences for all. Mendon Ponds holds a special place in my heart. Its proximity, coupled with the diverse landscape, ensures that every visit feels fresh and invigorating. Better yet, driving the park allows me to share it with others who might not be physically able to enjoy the trails otherwise. On my recent trip, I hosted an event for WNYCCA, Western New York Combined Carriage Association, also known as Wankers. Though autumn typically promises pleasant weather, it played torrent this time. But as the saying goes, I'm not a witch, I won't melt. The day introduced a whimsical term to my vocabulary, mizzle, a blend of the words mist and drizzle. Despite the uninviting weather, fellow club members braved the elements, arriving with too many horses. As for me, I was accompanied by my trusty stallion Pete. The drive was even more delightful as we had two additional companions, my friend Jen and Sharon. Sharon's the one who actually brought the minis for others, but found herself in need of a ride, which we were more than happy to provide. The minis, with their initial fiery zeal, felt that Pete wasn't setting a brisk enough pace, so in response we adjusted to a comfortable jog. Our itinerary for the day was a scenic loop around the ponds, totaling about 8 kilometers. As we made our way across the rugby field, we ventured into our first canopy-covered trail, leading us over a wooden bridge. Though the bridge was flanked by muddy ruts, we traversed it without a hitch, continuing on with our pleasant journey. I felt a twinge of gratitude for having only the nimble minis accompanying us. Their size allowed us to explore narrow trails zigzagging through the woods, routes I'd usually avoid if we had larger horses with the constraints of a fixed shaft. Emerging from the dense canopy, we found ourselves on the access road leading to the boat launch. This stretch of smooth terrain was a perfect opportunity for our horses to slow down and recover. As we assessed the minis, their enthusiastic gait suggested that we were eager for more, so we delved back into the woods and followed another trail. Transitioning from forest path to open fields, we neared the main parking lot where a catering team seemed to be busy preparing for an event. Dominating the landscape in front of us was a sprawling playground, adorned with multiple slides. It was too tempting for a young spirit among us, and the little girl hopped off one of the carriages to seize the moment, while we all paused to let our horses rest. Moving on, our route took us to the beach where Pete splashed to the water's edge. The minis, on the other hand, they chose to trot alongside the shoreline. This spectacle not only caught the attention of beachgoers, but also a photographer who was initially focused on capturing a couple's portrait. Unable to resist the horse's charm, they snapped a few candid shots of our entourage. We moved beyond the bustling pickleball courts and ventured once again into the woodland. Here, my usual reliable sense of direction wavered as I approached a challenging hilly segment. While Pete managed to ascend effortlessly, the minis found themselves in a bit of a bind midway up. Minor hiccup. As Pete and I waited at the summit, my passengers alighted to help the others. Solution? They disembarked from their carriage and led the ponies up, line driving them the remaining distance. Once everyone reached the top, it was unanimously decided that a short breather was in order. Fortunately, the hill was the peak of our adventurous drama, bearing the whims of the weather, of course. Just as we transitioned from the road segment, the skies decided to remind us of their presence, unfurling a steady downpour. The roads, though easier terrain for our equine companions, offered no shelter from the rain. The wide open stretch became a watery gauntlet, and by the time we delved back into the sheltered trails near the pond, we were thoroughly drenched. We veered off into the woods and were greeted by an expansive stretch of prime trails, blanketed by a dense canopy of leaves. However, the rain's persistence had transformed certain parts into soft, muddy patches. At the ladies' requests, to ease their minis' trek, we picked up a trot through some of the softer areas. All seemed smooth until it didn't. I had been focusing on Pete's left side to ensure a clear path ahead, assuming the rest of the trail was obstacle-free. This turned out to be short-sighted, as the right side was studded with treacherous tree roots. By the time I spotted them, it was too late. The sudden jolt, exacerbated by my carriage's airbag suspension at 30 psi, gave us quite the unexpected jostle. Both of my passengers and I experienced a minor heart-stopping moment, gripping tightly to our seats. To add to the commotion, a phone was yeeted off into the underbrush. After a quick stop and search, it turned out to be my own phone, which, as it seems, had found an eject feature from my pocket. All body parts and electronics were accounted for, and we pressed on. Approaching the trail's end, a barrier stood in our path, necessitating one of my passengers to intervene. The obstacle? a sturdy 6x6 post. It was designed for easy removal, granting access to horses and carriages. However, navigating this area required care to avoid the gaping hole left in the post's absence. With the barrier safely returned to its place and everyone back on board, we transitioned to a road journey leading back to the park trailers. While most of the oncoming traffic displayed courtesy, waiting for safe opportunities to overtake us, a few daredevil drivers opted for reckless maneuvers. Their decisions to pass on blind corners and hilly terrains transformed a simple drive into moments of heart-pounding anxiety. The audacity of risks in traffic never ceases to amaze me. Upon returning to the trailers, we promptly unhitched and dried off our ponies. Then we did the best to wring ourselves out and combat the lingering dampness. But as is customary among carriage enthusiasts, the end of the ride does not signal the end of the fun. A spread of warm mac and cheese, pumpkin muffins, cupcakes, and sparkling grape juice awaited us, making for the perfect post-ride feast. People often ask why I opt for driving over riding, and the answer lies in moments like these. The camaraderie among carriage drivers is unparalleled. It's a community bound by mutual support, warmth, and genuine friendship. Mendon Ponds Park, number 4 in my continued quest to traverse all the local parks and trails. If you're new to the Rochester area or are contemplating a visit, Mendon Ponds Park tops the list of my recommendations. Serving as the pinnacle of equestrian experiences in the region, it is a haven for riders and carriage drivers alike. The vast trails, diverse terrain, and equestrian-friendly amenities make it a dream destination for horse lovers. From leisurely hacks to challenging routes, it is an equine adventure that shouldn't be missed. Make sure to saddle up and explore this equestrian gem when you're in the area. Today's visit. Distance? 8 kilometers. It's roughly 5 miles. Speed? 4.6 kilometers an hour on average. Elevation gain? 395 meters with lots of ups and downs. Parking. 4 hooves. There is always parking available, no matter the group size. Best perk of all is a frost-free hydrant located nearby for a quick hose-off or to fill buckets for your horse to enjoy, should you choose to have a post-ride picnic. Maps and signage. 2 hooves. While there are maps and lots of trails, you'll be surprised how many aren't marked. Best to go with somebody who knows the park a few times. And also be mindful of the trail conditions. Wet weather, stay out of the lowlands and spread out that hoof traffic in grassy areas. Stay out of areas not marked for horse traffic. And please don't go bushwhacking. Difficulty? 3 hooves. The trails vary in difficulty, and you can either stay low and flat or choose to ride steep and rugged. There's a little bit of everything for everyone. Maintenance. 4 hooves. Being the premier park in Monroe County comes with quite the staff, both professional and volunteer. That wraps up today's show, and until next time, respect the trail, wear a helmet, and clean up after your horse at the trailer site. Happy trails!